if you really want something, if you really want a certain lifestyle, you just keep going until you get there, right? But one thing that always stuck with me too is I heard a phrase, I think it was from my friend, where as entrepreneurs, we only have to be right once. We could fail 100 times, but the 101st business takes off and does well. Everyone's going to look at that, oh, wow, that guy, that business does well, but they're not going to see the 100 other failed attempts of businesses that didn't do well. I just have to keep going, keep thinking, and keep moving along.
This is the Fit Investor Podcast, where we talk about how to live a more holistic life of being fit, not only financially, but physically and faithfully. We'll be joined by experts in all these areas to share their experiences and actionable and practical tips so that you can be a fit investor too. So now let's join our hosts, Cale Delaney and Brenna Carls.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Fit Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Cale Delaney, here with Brenna Speed Racer Carls.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe we can hear about that, Brenna, if you want to share. And today our special guest is Casey Karlen. Casey is the founder of Term Rental Investors LLC, the property manager, real estate investing coach. His real estate investing company buys ugly houses and vacation markets and turns them into unique and creative spaces, focusing on nice, family-friendly, and affordable stays. He also helps other short-term rental hosts grow their portfolios and achieve financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. Through his property management company, he also manages short-term rental units for property owners who don't have the time to be full-time hosts. In less than a year, his companies have purchased $3 million in real estate, managed multiple units in over 6 different locations, helped dozens of investors come closer to financial freedom, and more. In his youth, he served a 2-year mission trip in northern Germany, where he found his passion for learning new cultures and languages, creating fun experiences while being away from home, where he currently resides in Southern California. He's married to a beautiful wife, Shayla, has 2 young boys, McKay and Liam, and 2 dogs. And today, we're going to hear about his various passions, including his passion for entrepreneurship, fitness, and faith. So with that, Mr. Casey, welcome to the Fit Investor.
Thank you so much, you guys. Once I heard you drop the topic about your podcast, I was like, oh, that'd be a really interesting one, and one that I always thought it'd be really cool to be on. So it's a pleasure to be on here today.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. So like we were talking about offline before this, and also just for our audience, Casey is also an author in the Hospitable Host 2 book, which if you're looking online, you can see right behind him there as well. But he has an interesting background and story of, particularly in regards to his entrepreneurship journey, which we wanted to explore a little bit. So we just want to open it up to you, Casey, if you can take us back a little bit and just tell us a little bit about your background and your journey and take us through those business experiences to where you are now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would love to do that. To take it back, yeah, like you said in the bio, I'm from a small city. That's not small, but it's a suburb outside of Los Angeles. It's called Glendora. Growing up there, my dad has a floor care and carpet cleaning business that he's had since for the last 30 years. And so I watched my dad as an entrepreneur be able to show up to my baseball games, be able to come to any event that was like really crucial. And so I really admired that. And I always thought that was something that I'd want to do. When I was in school, I didn't have the best of grades. I probably was like a 2.7 GPA average. I just never really, I don't know. School just wasn't really my thing. I could never really understand the people who would show up and just without studying for a test and just got like an A on a test without studying, and me, I'm getting a D or something like that with putting a little bit of effort into it. I don't know. I always kind of assumed like from right there that sure, I would make some money, but I wouldn't be like a doctor or an engineer or something that this really smart people do. But as I got into later on in high school, college, I always thought back on what my dad was doing as an entrepreneur. And I thought, hey, you know what? I can start a business. And from there, being a business owner, I can have control over my time. How much money I make is up to me, how hard I work, and the kind of business that I set up. It's not like I'm given a set salary that's going to tell me how much money I'm going to make. And so 2 years into college, I realized that I didn't need a degree to be a business owner. And so I dropped out and was working for my dad full time. I learned the ropes of what his business looked like. And there was talks of me possibly taking that business over. And fast forward, maybe 3 years later, our business went from 400,000 a year to about 1.4 million a year. Just, I'm not saying like I did anything special. It was just like the help of us working on it together and being able to like him handle a lot of the sales and then me handle a lot of the operations. And even though it did really well and I was making pretty decent money, it wasn't like an industry that I was super passionate about. Like I love like the business aspect of it, but carpet cleaning or tile cleaning it's not really like a sexy, like one of the most like interesting topics that people like talking about, but I love the business aspect of it. And I started to, and I think one thing that I didn't like about that business is it was so like location based, like in order, like we had a certain, or the people that we serve is within the Southern California area. And I wanted to be able to work and make money and be in, I don't know, in Bali on vacation with my kids, or I don't know, just I wanted to be able to have a time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. And so I feel like going that route, I could have gotten the financial freedom, but it wasn't something I was like super passionate about. And so I started looking at really hitting hard on the e-commerce side of things. Like I had a lot of different ideas for like business and e-commerce, like online business, where one was selling like glass screen protectors, like on a monthly subscription versus like just a one-time thing. And then let's see, another one was called turtle ties, where we sold ties to save turtles. So it was like $11 a tie, and that last dollar goes to saving turtles. Let's see. I had one business that was like a service business that would go after government contracts. And so we would get the government contracts and then sub it out to local contractors. And that worked. I don't know. That didn't really work either. It was okay, but it didn't really work. And then a bunch of different other e-commerce stuff. But my last one was something that was more personal to me. It was a business, e-commerce brand that sold like autism based or autism focused clothing and like apparel and like toys, like sensory toys. And my older brother, his name is Brendan, he has autism. And like I've noticed like in his older years, he's 33 now. And so since he's graduated high school, there hasn't been like a really good work program that fit for him. So keeping him busy and keeping him engaged and feeling useful in the community. And so he bounced around from different work programs. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to create a business that he can work in. Maybe he can help me fulfill orders, or he can be a model, or I don't know, keep him busy. And so I spent probably like 4 to 6 months on that business, building it out. And because there was like a lot of the shirts, I was like custom making them, and there was a lot of hype around. I feel like I was posting on Facebook groups and getting a lot of hype building it up. But when we launched, I think within the first week we had 2 sales, and one of them was my mom. And so it was like heartbreaking. And then even continuing on, I was still paying like a lot in advertising and not getting the return. And I just basically ran out of money. Like I just wasn't able to. I feel like looking back at now, if I would have kept going, I may have been able to make something work with it. But I don't know. I realized that the product, like I realized that the product didn't actually solve the solution, like or solve the problem. Like in the future, I want the product itself to be the solution to the problem. And so I realized I need more resources, like a bigger network and all that stuff. And so I thought, hey, I'm actually going to go all in on real estate. I had a friend at the time that was telling me that 90% of millionaires are made through real estate. And I thought, okay, I don't know. I just started going down that rabbit hole and was like, hey, I'm going to go all in on real estate, Airbnb, and bought our first property from a wholesaler in Joshua Tree that was a fixer-upper. And when I say we, I mean like me, my wife, my dad, and my mom. So it's like we were the team. And bought it from a wholesaler for $325. Spent 6 months rehabbing it and put about like 120 or 150,000 total with furnishing and rehab, and it appraised for $695.
Wow.
And we were able to pull our capital back. And from there, I was hooked, especially since right when we put on an Airbnb, just started like immediately getting bookings. And I was like, I remember that being so like, I don't know, this kind of weight off my shoulders, or kind of being like, I don't know. It just felt really good because I was so used to putting a website up and then paying a lot on ads and then not getting like the sales that I was really wanting to. And so like immediately when I put it on Airbnb, just started booking up, and I was like, yes, this is awesome. I don't know. I've just been hooked ever since then, buying more houses. And so right now my current portfolio looks like still have that one in Joshua Tree, Indio, California, Lake Arrowhead, California. And then we're working on a project, another one in Joshua Tree that's 10 acres. We're building some storage unit, five storage unit containers
Nice.
on there. And then, and then I manage 7 other properties.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me
So
in a nutshell.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Fire away.
We'll just backtrack. But so with the properties, that one in Joshua Tree, your first one, what do you think it's worth now?
I think we got an appraisal at a really good time. Joshua Tree has gone, I would say it's gone down a little bit. So if I were to get it reappraised, right, because this was at like the beginning of 2022 that it was reappraised.
Okay. So
it was like pretty much top of market. And then from there, Joshua Tree, I would say like looking at comps now, because if you look at the appreciation it had in such a short amount of time, like it wasn't sustainable. There's no jobs there. There's no companies moving. It was really just like the hype of short-term rentals that was building up the value there. And so I would put it still like probably in the 600s. Just, I don't know if I'd say it's 695 right now, but
that's cool though. And
that's
then
just,
the places in California, do you get properties where they're just pretty like drivable because you're renovating them, or have you looked in the area of the redwood forest or anything like that yet?
So I think like the areas that we were looking at are drivable, and a lot of them we gotten from like local wholesalers. And so I've looked at other markets, but we do like my dad. So in our team, like I find the deals and I do all like the legwork on like the paperwork, and I do all the management as the host. And then my dad will do all like he works as like the general contractor. And then my wife and my mom are like the designers and the purchasers and that kind of stuff. So it's like it's a team. And doing a project like that, we wanted to start somewhere local, but now we are looking outwards. Joshua Tree is 2 hours from us. Indio is 2 hours. And then Lake Arrowhead's about an hour.
And then a question that I've always had that I really have never gotten the answer to, since y'all were in flooring, you can answer this. Why, when you go into an old home and you pull up flooring of laminate, whatever, in the kitchen or bathroom, there's 3 layers of flooring. Like they just keep putting it up. What is it? Just easy because it sticks, and you don't have to pull up. You don't have to pull up the first part, the first laminate that they put down in like the 60s.
Yeah, that's honestly what I'd say. Like they don't have to, so they don't. Like that's honestly like they save on labor costs usually,
so it's like
and then
4 layers, and then you're like, okay.
Yeah, after that it gets a while. But I know also like there's some houses that we've been into where it can also depend on the year, where we're like, if we tear up this old linoleum, there could be asbestos underneath it, and I'd just rather not even deal with that. And so we'll just put flooring on top of it.
Sometimes you can uncover really nice wood, probably that
you can, but to be honest with you, like to me, I like luxury vinyl planks like LVP. I just do. So if I were to, because especially as a short-term rental,
it's easier to keep up with.
It's easier. The wood will scratch. So they bring in there with dogs, and they don't trim their nails enough. It could like put some indents in the wood. And with the luxury vinyl planks, it's like when you outweigh the cost of like refinishing it versus putting that in on a long term. I don't know. We just put luxury vinyl planks in everything that we do. So
it reminds me, I'd seen an article, I think it was probably a couple of years ago or something, but somebody had bought this old house. It was like a big old house, and they had removed the carpet or something in one room, and they found this like ornately painted, or I guess it was painted, like full scale Monopoly board on the,
that's so cool.
That's cool.
It was amazing. It was like literally a whole game board, huge, underneath this ugly old carpet that they pulled up. And of course, who knows? It's probably on Airbnb.
Yeah.
Personally, want shag carpet to come back, because not the ugly colors, like not that puke green color and like that odd orange color. You don't know if it's orange or if it's just faded dreams and hopes and all that stuff. But just like a cream, or just because it's fluffy under your feet. I don't know. I just think that's pretty cool, but not just anywho. All right, I'm getting sidetracked. Other question I have. So you went back. I like that autism idea because my best friend in high school, we grew up together. Her nephew was born autistic, and it was way back when you still had DVD players and stuff. And he really wanted to watch SpongeBob, but they got a new DVD player and we didn't know how to hook it up. And he was only 3.5 years old. So he started throwing this temper tantrum, and with him, they're like, you just have to leave him in his space and let him do that. So we went and played Mario Kart. And then all of a sudden we hear SpongeBob in the next room, and he hooked up the DVD player at 3.5 years old. Like it was insane. I've never seen anything like it. So I applaud you for doing that, because there's so many different talents that they can bring to the table that you normally don't see. But I didn't hear what you said. You didn't tell me, like, I didn't think you said what failed about the government contract thing, because I've personally looked into that on our end on some things. And
So this is where I can get deep into that. So my dad's company is called Classic Floor Care. It does government contracts like in this area. And so we're like, hey, we could start a separate C and then start looking in like other areas. And I guess what we found, it was a lot harder than initially. It's so time consuming going through, first of all, finding contracts that will make sense. And then we didn't want to do things that were like too big, kind of out of our like service. So we didn't want to get in over our heads on something. So some of the things that we were looking at were like the margins weren't very good if we were trying to find like a subcontractor. A lot of them, like all the contracts didn't allow subcontractors, at least that we were looking at. And I don't know. And I'm probably making excuses because I know there's people out there that do it. I think in the end, it was an idea we tried out, but it wasn't supposed to be the thing that I was meant to do long term. I think.
Yeah.
I think because like I look at like the past, you could look at them as failures, but I look at it as I gave up on it because I wasn't passionate. Like I don't know. It wasn't what I was meant to do. And with the Autism-y thing, with that company, like I still have that desire. Like I still want to create something like that. I just want to do it better. I want to create like either a post high school like education, like maybe an online education thing where there can be like different levels, because there's so many different levels on the spectrum. But that would take a lot of money and time and to create something like that. So
something that we could work together on that hasn't developed yet, but we'll talk about that later. But Taylor, I wasn't getting off track. I asked these questions because I'm going to get back on the reason why I asked these questions. Explain to people, because a lot of people will try something at first and they fail, and it's, you know what, just entrepreneurship is not for me. And the thing is, a lot of people aren't going to be, the majority of people won't be successful with the first business they start. And if you can explain your perseverance, like not giving up, then a lot of the times you will find something entrepreneurial that you will succeed at, and to keep that dream alive, because so many people just give up after that first failed attempt.
Yeah. Just to tack onto that question with another part of it would be like, how long did you stick with each one of these various business ventures before moving on?
That's a good question. I would say on average, it was about 6 months.
Okay.
That's how long it took. And as far as like the perseverance part of it is, I don't know. I guess I just really like, if you really want something, if you really want like a certain lifestyle, you just keep going till you get there, right? But one thing that always stuck with me too is I heard a phrase, I think it was from my friend, where it's like, as entrepreneurs, we only have to be right once, right? Like we could fail 100 times, but the 101st business takes off and does well. Everyone's going to look at that. Oh, wow, that guy, that business does well, but they're not going to see the 100 other failed attempts of businesses that didn't do well. But I don't know, that always stuck with me as like, all right, this wasn't my business that takes off. I just have to keep going, keep thinking, and keep moving along. Another reason too was like, I guess during that time, I squeezed into a house in California I bought a $450 little 2-bedroom condo with my wife, and I feel like we were barely able to afford it. And then we had a baby, and then then my wife got pregnant again, and I was like, man, I make 6 figures a year, but I feel like I am just barely scraping by. It doesn't seem, everyone talks about, oh, if you make over $100,000 a year, that seemed like a comfortable salary or whatever.
Doesn't go far anymore.
Not for California.
Yeah, especially then. And I was like, this isn't going to work. And so I was, I guess, just really motivated, I guess, especially when my priorities started coming up of like my kids. I realized like what I wanted for them and the kind of lifestyle I wanted to have with them, like the kind of vacations we wanted to go and the how much time I wanted to spend with them. And I don't know, I just really started to get, I don't know, really caused me to think about that more at that time. And that's what really kicked me into the gear. I think it was like really started focusing more on what kind of business I wanted to start and how I wanted my life to be.
I like that. So with now your business, buying these houses and renovating them, and then are you buying and holding, or are you sometimes flipping them?
So all three that we've had, we've been able to hold them.
Okay.
I'm not like against, I guess that's why I like this strategy, is because you have two exit strategies, right? Is you can buy, obviously the main goal is to buy it, turn it into a short-term rental. But if for whatever reason we're low on liquidity, or I don't know, the deal didn't turn out as well as we'd like, then we could sell it off and just flip it and still not be underwater or lose money on the deal.
And so do you always look for properties that need a little TLC?
Always.
Under
Yeah.
the
Personally, yeah. I just with and I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, every situation. But like I said, my dad's basically a contractor who has a lot of experience. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. My wife, my mom are really hands-on with the design and the purchasing, and I don't know, we have a good team. And then, so like I said, and we have the time, because like our background is my dad's business. We have, I don't know, it's not like we all have set W-2 jobs. So we could put more focus into this business and then more focus into this business. And I don't know, it can switch a little bit.
Yeah,
so for us, it works out.
Yeah, sounds like you got the perfect setup with having each one of your family members there with a different specialty that you can leverage off. And like you said, the rehab type properties, that's an excellent investment strategy. That's where you're probably going to find the best values and the best returns ultimately. But like you said, it's not for everybody. If you have a team like you do, Casey, that you have somebody who knows what they're doing and you can trust as a contractor, that type of thing, and you have the time to oversee, then you should absolutely explore it. But if you don't, and you don't have the time to really oversee it and put the proper effort into it, it can really be a nightmare. There's plenty of horror stories out there, especially with remote investing, where people get taken advantage of. There's just you got to be careful when you choose a contractor, just like anything else, right?
Yeah.
And when I say that, prior to the real estate, I worked for a large contractor. It was commercial real estate or commercial properties, but same thing. I know the contracting world very well, but for me personally, I don't seek out big rehab or value add projects because I know how challenging that can be.
I'm consuming too.
Yeah.
So,
No,
so you got to find what works for you.
Yeah. Like I don't know, when I crunch in the numbers sometimes, and you're like, man, if we were over on our rehab this much and our appraisal came in like lower this much, when I think about that, sometimes I'm like, man, all the time we spent, it would have been easier if the numbers didn't work out the way they did, just to put it 10%, use a vacation home 10% down loan and put that on a turnkey property, and saved a lot of time. But so let's say where if you go over in your rehab and your appraisal comes a lot lower, then it's just, you might as well just do that. So that's why it really is hard you have to have like your numbers down and have a team. And it's not easy to do for sure.
And you mentioned the word
overestimate your rehab.
Yes. I always fluff that up for sure. Yeah.
You mentioned the word wholesale. So for our listeners that are just new at this, because I see a lot of people throwing these words around in these Facebook groups. And when I talk to them, they don't even know what that word is. They've just seen that word and I think that's what they need. Explain the difference is. Like there's private money, there's hard money, there's fix and flip loans, commercial loans. So explain the different tactics in layman's terms for people that you've used so they can understand the concept behind that word.
Yeah. So a wholesaler is basically a middleman for a real estate transaction. If you have, lots of times they're not even agents, like licensed agents. They go directly to sellers that are distressed. Usually they're distressed, either the property itself could be a hoarder house or it's ugly or whatever, or there's also like personal distress of they're going through a divorce or they're moving out of town and they need to sell right away. So there's basically we'll just use the word distress. Like for some reason the property is distressed. So they'll target those type of properties and go directly to the seller and generally avoid the use of an agent. So there's no like commission. So basically they'll say, hey, you could sell it. They go to the seller and say, hey, you could sell it to us and cut out the 6% commission. And you'll save a lot there. And yeah, so they'll make an offer, they'll get it generally below market, get it under contract, and then they basically sell the rights to the property or the sell right to a cash investor. And then they'll mark it up. So let's say they have it under contract for 100,000. They'll sell it to a cash investor for 110, 115. And it's all done in escrow. It's not, I don't know, they don't generally have to close on it. They can, but they don't have to. And it's not like a traditional real estate sale because the wholesaler doesn't have that fiduciary an agent does for your best interest. And so the wholesaler is just trying to push the transaction, trying to get it, so find somebody to buy it. So you do have to know your numbers when you're calculating your after repair value. Have to have really good comps to back it up and feel confident in it. And then also know your rehab costs. And also talking about the lending side of it with them, when you buy from a wholesaler, they usually want you have to be a cash or hard money buyer because they don't want, if they're promising the seller we can close in 2 weeks, then they want somebody who can close in 2 weeks without having any contingencies of an appraisal or an inspection or whatever. They just, here's the deal, take it or leave it type thing.
The reason why I wanted you to explain that is because people that are listening, whether you go into it with a wholesaler like this, or you want to have a fix and flip loan or whatever it is, because I know those terms are very popular right now, guys, you have to have experience. For me, like personally, I think you have to have experience in this to be successful. And if you don't personally work with somebody that can be your mentor or maybe go in with the deal with you to show you those kind of things and show you the ropes until you understand it yourself. Because if you go in blind, like he said, the wholesaler is just looking for somebody like he isn't, it doesn't matter if you succeed or fail to them. They're just looking for somebody to fill that transaction. So it's not about experience that you have. They're just like, if you've got the cash, we'll do it. So really, you, like he said, you really have to know your numbers and stuff to do that. So I like to be safe and warn people, don't go all out by yourself if this is like your first one and you don't really know what you're doing, because you a lot of times will not succeed like you want to in it.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I want to expand on that too. Like my first deal was from a wholesaler, but like I have a very, I don't know, high risk tolerance. I'm not afraid. And I have this background of my dad's a contractor. I'm like, Dad, we could do that. We can tackle that together. Or if we have to do it all DIY, like whatever, we'll get it done. But at the time, the market, like this was end of 2021. So like the market was so hot that anything, I don't know, I feel like anything that they were throwing the MLS, like finding like a BRRRR deal was so hard on MLS, and I was pretty new. And so I was hearing how everyone was going to wholesalers, and I was like, all right, well, I'll check out these wholesalers because I knew that they were getting things under contract. So the price is, here's the price. It's not like you're bidding or anything like that. And so that was like appealing to me. But I would say we did go over budget on our rehab, but because the market was appreciating so fast, that we were lucky that we were saved because our appraisal came in so high that we were able to still cover all of our costs and it was fine. But no, I agree with you. It's not, especially right now, that's not what needs to happen. The MLS is easier to work than it was at the end of 2021, in my opinion. And I like just to have like different deal flows, right? If I have agents that I'm working with and wholesalers that I'm working with, then I don't know, I get a lot of different deals and I can analyze. I just get good at analyzing and figuring out what is a good deal and what isn't.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into what you're doing now, which I believe is a relatively recent venture with coaching, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you, because like at the beginning of the year is when I started coaching, beginning of 2023. And I think like the main reason why I did it is, first of all, when I was trying to do like the BRRRR STIR strategy, right? Like the BRRRR short-term rental or BRRRR Airbnb or whatever, I didn't know anyone that was coaching on that or like showing people how to do that type of strategy. And so I was like, once I get a good handle of it, understanding how the process works, then I can start helping people. Like start off with me posting content on Instagram and stuff. And then I don't know, I just got a lot of questions. I was like, hey, I think there is a pretty good need for this type of coaching. And another thing that I do along with teaching that is like more one-on-one. I like to be able to jump on like a Zoom call with the clients and be able like to run through a deal, and they'll be there walking it through and like holding up their phone, like almost like a FaceTime, and I'm going through it all. And I just like, I don't know, I like looking at the deals and like giving my feedback of, oh, I would buy that because of this, or I wouldn't buy it because of this. And I feel like that helps people when they're just starting out too, because they want somebody to give like their second opinion, because it can be really lonely when you're starting out trying to look at a deal and be like, is this a good decision? I don't know. And for a lot of people, they get that analysis paralysis. And trying by me doing that one-on-one and kind of like analyzing a deal with them, plugging in the numbers, and then saying, hey, this is something that I would recommend, or this is something I wouldn't recommend because of this.
Are you doing that just in California, or are you doing that across the United States?
I'm doing that across in all sorts of markets. It's harder it does take me a little bit longer if it's in a market that like I'm not currently operating in. So comp it and look at deals, stuff like that. But I don't know, I use AirDNA and I use PropStream. AirDNA for like more short-term rental projections, and then PropStream for more like obviously the real estate side of comps and appraisals and that kind of thing.
And let me ask you this. I don't know if y'all have this issue in California. There's a lot of, so let's just give the Smoky Mountains, for example. There's a lot of old cabins that just need a lot of work. And to close in 2 weeks, right? You can't no inspections, anything like that. We do have things where people will do the radon testing and like it comes back and it's bad. So do y'all have to deal with that in California, or is it just where like the rocky area? I don't know, because that would be my fear. If I went in on something like, yeah, I can figure, and then it turns out like it's got such high amount of radon, you can't really get rid of that.
Yeah, at least I can tell you with the properties that I've bought from, I've never had to deal with the radon inspections or any type of test. I've never had to do them, but I've heard of people doing that. I'm not too familiar with that, and at least in the California markets.
Okay.
Having to do that.
Yeah, I just didn't know so it's market specific. So there's depending on the market, like there's so many things that can go into it depending on where you're buying it. So that's good to know.
Yeah, for sure. So
in California, you just get extra taxes on taxes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, right?
Triple
yeah.
tax.
Tons and tons of taxes. But yeah, for every market, it can be different. And at least what I tell my clients is I'm there to kind of like help and coach and help you through it. But you do like any type of market, it's good to rely on the professionals that are local to that market, right? So agents, lenders, contractors. It's, I don't know. I think that's my favorite part as an investor is you don't have to know everything. You can rely on other people who do know the things that you need to know. And I don't know, I think that's where part of the coaching kind of comes in is, I don't know, helping people work through that.
Hey guys, it's Brenna Carl, CEO and co-founder of The Mortgage Shop. When I'm not spending my time searching for the best pizza in town, working out because of pizza, or fighting sharks as Kale likes to say, I spend my time educating clients on the best investment products that will help them build generational wealth and making sure their loan process is as smooth as warm butter on a piece of toast. Call us today to get started with your investment journey at 800-816-7982 or talk more about pizza. Talk to you soon.
So
And we'll talk about it at the end, but are there like different tiers of your coaching of what you charge and stuff? You're doing it like going through the whole deal with them and like making like holding your hand, or are you just advising up front? What is it?
So it's an 8-week program.
Okay.
Mainly, so technically it's 12 months, but 8 weeks of one-on-one going through the material.
Okay.
So every week there's a Zoom call, an hour Zoom call of just one-on-one. And my clients like it because it's not just like videos that you go through. What like a lot of people do is they get to ask questions in real time. So if I'm going over a concept or showing how to analyze a deal, they can ask questions real time and get it answered. And then, so it's 8 weeks of that. And then for up to a year, we can do deal deep dives, which is like a 30-minute Zoom call of going over a deal.
Nice. I like that.
So that can be done once a week. So yeah, that's like how the program started. I found that, and the reason why I structured it the way I did is like, I spent like $35,000 on coaching education in the last 3 years. And I feel like there's this like, how a lot of them function is it's like this guru on Instagram or Facebook who has a lot of following and doing a lot of real estate like transactions, and they don't have time to teach you how to do it. So they create videos and then they'll do like once a week or once a month, like coaching calls. And then it'll be like a group setting where it'll be like 20 to 50 people on the calls or something like that. And I found myself never going on those calls because I don't know, there'd be like the same beginner questions or like, I don't know. I'd be like, man, there's 30 people on here. I don't want to ask my question. Like it
Yeah.
seems, and I don't know. So that's why I structured it the way that I did. And I don't know, before I used to think, oh, I don't have 50 rental units. I'm not ready to start being a guru coach or whatever. But it was like, I read in a book by Russell Brunson, who's the owner of ClickFunnels. And he says, you're not, just because you don't think you have that experience doesn't mean you can't start helping people now. Like you have enough knowledge to start helping people. You don't have to be like an expert in something. You don't have to be an expert or be 10 times more experienced than your clients are. You just have to be one chapter ahead to help
Right.
them get where they're going. And that like really helped me to like, hey, I can do this. And once you get started, you realize, I don't know, a lot of people are getting help and they're liking what they're getting value out of it. Then it, I don't know, it makes you feel like, okay, yeah, I'm doing something okay. Or I'm doing something right.
Yeah, and there's a huge need for it regardless. As short-term rental in specific gets more and more popular, of course, people get interested, and there's so many people who are new to the industry who have no clue what they're getting into. And there's still a ton of people who have gotten into it or are starting to get into it that, like you said, they just need some hand-holding, right? It's maybe they just don't have the comfort level to take the next step or to pull the trigger. Even if maybe it's not necessarily the knowledge that they need, they might just need that extra little bit of confidence with having
Yep.
alongside them. There's always a need for that. And like you mentioned before, whether it's a coaching program or whether it's a mentor of some sort or just relying on the various professionals that you work with, that's so crucial. I know for me, I didn't do any coaching, mentorship program or anything like that, but thankfully I was fortunate enough to really just stumble across, I guess, ultimately a great short-term rental agency that teaches you as part of when you work with them for buying the properties, they teach you everything you need to know to get going. And just that was enough to give me the confidence to say, okay, I think I can do this.
And a knowledgeable lender. Don't forget that
I
part.
am knowledgeable.
No, that's it though. It's true. Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah. A knowledgeable lender, a good agent. Then I know the short-term shop has cash flow Carl. So yeah, I feel like mentorship is, I don't want to say necessary. Mentorship will help you get to where you want to go faster, whether it's paid or not. And some people, your lender, your agent, they are paid in a way. And that's why they're incentivized to mentor you. But I don't know. But either way, I think, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool. There's so many other things we could get into with the business side of things, but just want to move into some of the other subject areas.
Let's do it.
So when we jump into the physical fitness portion, and within that, we can talk about a little bit of mindset and stuff too, because I think they go hand in hand and they're both important with all the other topics that we talk about. And I know in your chapter, you talk about mindset a lot. And
Yeah.
so why don't you just tell us a little bit about, I guess, what does that mean for you? What does mindset or physical fitness mean for you? Why is that important? And what do you do? And how does that overflow into these different areas of your life?
Okay, cool. So I'll backtrack a bit. Like in high school, I feel like I've been very athletic and did a lot of sports. Like I had to go to football, basketball, I don't know, baseball, all sorts of sports growing up. I feel like I had this, because I was doing that, I always had something that was like forcing me to be fit or like healthy, physically moving all the time. And after that, and I was also in a workout, like a gym class, like my sixth period for high school, all throughout high school was a workout class. And I feel like that kind of burned me out a little bit after high school of having working out as a class. Like it just was like, it wasn't as enjoyable for me after that. After that, I would still like periodically do it. But ever since I've gotten married, become a dad, I've been focusing so much on providing that it's been harder to put that as a focus for me. But as I've been learning, like I feel like I put a lot into mindset as far as like how to be happy in life, how to be healthy and not just physically, but mentally. And I found that by physically working out, it also helps your mental, helps you mentally, helps you be in a better mood, helps you feel happier throughout your day. And I've also, I don't know. So that's just a few things that I've realized that sure, providing is huge, right? I need to make money to provide for my family. But at the same time, like when I was thinking about like I've always thought, okay, I want my kids to be proud of me as far as like the financials. I want to be able to take them on good vacations and have nice cars or whatever. But I also want them to look at me in my 40s and be like, my dad's not this old fat guy. I want them to look and be like, yeah, my dad's like in shape. Or that's like another reason that I was like, all right, I need to really get it together and start focusing on that. But another thing that I actually heard Ryan Panetta, I don't know if he is, he's on Instagram and stuff like that, but he says that there's like everything in his business, he can pretty much hire somebody else to do, but he can't hire somebody to take care of his own family or take care of his own body. And I was like, yo, that's so true. I can't, like in my business, I can hire somebody to manage the rentals or buy properties or manage the rehabs, but I can't hire somebody to take care, unless like I were to do a personal trainer, but even then they're not going to actually physically move my body to work out. I have to do that on my own. And it's one thing that I would say recently, like in the last 2 or 3 months, that I've been trying to focus on more. I actually had this idea and it's still in the works, but I saw how Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are going to have a fight. I don't know if you saw that, right?
Is that real? I don't follow.
think
that.
that's like,
it's
there's
real.
no
It's going to
way.
happen.
like a boxing match, or is it like MMA? or is it
It's like a US cage fight. I don't know. They
I could
have
see,
like
slat boxing, but I couldn't see.
I got
Well,
money on Elon.
Mark Zuckerberg's training with UFC fighters. There's 2 UFC guys that are training him.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. So far it sounds like it's legit, but after I heard that, I was looking at Elon Musk and I'm like, man, he's like
He's a little chubby.
he's a little chubby. And I'm like, really, that's actually probably good for him because announcing the fight is going to force him to work out. Like it's going to make him work out and get ready. And then I'm like, and then he gets a bunch of hype around the event. So it's going to be like people going to his business. And I was like, man, you know what I should do? I should do a real estate meetup where I fight somebody or something like that. And then publicly announce it. And then if I publicly announce it, let's say, all right, September or something, and then I have so many weeks to train. And then really that for me, that'd be a good motivator to like really get in shape. And then I was like, then there'd be hype around it where I'd get more followers or whatever. And I was like, man, that's
like a mile jog.
Just win. But that's not a good enough incentive. Like I can say, oh yeah, I'm going to run a marathon, but I don't care to run a marathon. That's not. And this way I'm mixing like the two, the financial side to me personally, I feel like it. And then I don't know.
That would put so
so-
much stress on me if I was like, yeah, I'm going to fight somebody. Cause then I'd be
So-
like, every day I'd be like,
STR cage fight. Look at that.
yeah.
It's going to be a boxing match, but so it's in the works. I have a few people who are down.
I see you've been doing some collaborations with Alex Sabio. You gonna put the challenge out to him? You gonna get him in the ring?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't asked him yet, but there's a few people I've asked that said yes. And so I just don't want to put it on blast yet, but
I've got you.
yeah, watch
I'm
out.
joined now.
But it
Freaked
might
out.
happen. It might happen in September. We'll see.
There you go. Look, Brenna, that might be a new fit investor promo idea.
No, the thing is though, I would just have the advantage because I've trained doing that before. So I just don't want to show anybody up. That's going to be my
That's right. Brenna's got the shark wrestling,
right.
all that.
Yeah, like even my wife, like, what if they just like beat the crap out of you? They just,
Annihilate
punch
you.
their face? I'm like, but I'm okay with that. It's good content. I'm getting like in shape, getting ready for it, and
Negative publicity is still publicity.
it's still publicity, right? Who cares? Everyone's gonna remember that guy who got beat the crap out of at that real estate meetup, and then maybe I should invest with them or something. I don't know. It could happen.
Hey,
Your slogan could be like mentoring and fixing homes, not cage fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
it probably is a good idea. It would get a lot of. Look at that. What's his name? Gosh. Was it Paul Logan?
Yeah, Logan and Jake Paul. I'm like, I always thought it was weird that they do that. I'm like, maybe that's why they do that is because there's so much hype. Like they make so much money from it. And it's like, I'm not trying to make millions of dollars from it, but I feel it just builds hype, gets people talking about it. It's just different, like event in the space that no one's having a real estate meetup that's like a fight night. I don't know, just no one's doing that.
No, because
you guys
most
heard it.
like
You guys heard it
best
here.
people.
Look at this. This is the unveiling of the
You should enter in. You should enter in,
fight
Joe.
match.
And it's like everyone that I've talked to about it, like they always think I'm joking at first, but then they start thinking about it more and they're like, actually, that's not a bad idea. I don't know. It's funny. So we'll see. Yeah. Maybe work out. It might happen. It might not, but we'll see. We'll see.
Love it.
I'll come to it. If it happens, that's more. I'd buy a ticket. I'd come to it just because like it's something I don't see every day.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see.
Anywho,
So besides scheduling some potential cage matches, what else? What's your, since you're putting a focus on things now, what's your routine look like, or what are you starting to do? I know you mentioned a personal trainer.
Yeah, I don't have one yet, but I think that would be nice to do eventually, but I don't know. I read the book Atomic Habits a while ago, and I'm trying to use that to start. I don't know. I guess like right now, my goal is I don't know. I don't know if it's simple, but I'm trying to walk 10,000 plus steps a day and then just really watch what I eat. Like I've been trying to cut out a lot of carbs and just eat more protein. That's a good, I like meat, so that's easy for me to do. It's like just cut out carbs and eat meat and just more vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. But yeah, I try to, like when I wake up in the morning, I go on a 3 mile, 4 mile walk. And that's been, I feel like, and I listen to a book or a podcast while I'm doing that. And so I feel like that's a really good start for the day for me, is like just getting a lot of movement in. And I wanted to start there. And I've been going to the gym like once or twice a week, not as often as I like, but I don't know. I'm trying not to like, I'm trying to, like I said, trying to start like gradually and really get the habit going. Because before I was like, I wake up at 5:30 and just start working. And so now I'm like, all right, let's have a morning routine of like exercise and reading and then get to work around 7 or no, like 7:38.
I like two things you said in there for the working out that I wanted to point out to people, because they can see Kale hitting these PRs at 5:30 in the morning at the gym or whatever he's doing. And they're like, can't live up to that. That's not me. And you saying I'm just starting out simple with watching what I eat and then the walks. I don't think people understand how much walking can actually help, because I know the Apple Watch isn't be all end all, but when I would run 1 or 2 miles, I would burn on average, like for me, it's 110 calories per mile.
Mhm.
But then I'm burning the same thing when I walk it. And I know you're using your VO2 max and stuff jogging, but it would sometimes be like, I don't want to jog. It's really hot outside. I just wouldn't do it at all, versus going out and enjoying a walk. And so now I do that, and I've seen better results doing that than trying to force myself into running if it's too hot, or allergies are a big thing here in Tennessee. And so that affects it too. So I like that you don't want to overwhelm yourself at first and try to do all these things, because it just comes with time. And again, that Atomic Habits book, I think everybody should read that, because you have to just start. It's just slowly taking that step by step, instead of just, or I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. Your body's not used to that. You're not going to be able to sustain that, because your body will literally physically be too tired.
Yeah. You'll get burned out like too quickly.
I like that.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I know that was like my issue, especially with my nutrition, is like, I was big on like time. I just want to save time. And so for lunch, I'm just going to DoorDash some fast food. And so I can keep working, and rather than like having to like meal prep or I don't know, or something like that. So that was an issue. So like, if I start on those two things of moving my body more on a daily basis, like just walking more or something like that, and then just watching more to eat, that's like a good start on like the direction. And then it can just evolve over time of focusing on the working out side of things, like at the gym and lifting heavier weights or whatever. But it's just where I'm starting at right now. So
I like it.
Yeah, I think one of my big challenges is lunch, frankly, just like you mentioned, like, man, especially now that it's working from home, lunch and taking breaks. Like, I don't take breaks half the days, or more than half the days. I even forget to eat lunch. Like, I'll look at the clock and now it's 3, 4 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm not going to eat now because
yeah, exactly.
it's right around the corner. And so that's a bad habit that I've gotten into recently. I need to figure something out. I thought of maybe doing
Protein shake.
I do my morning protein shake.
Oh,
It's like a big meal replacement thing. And I don't have that until usually like 9 o'clock or something in the morning. And I won't get hungry really until maybe 1, 2 o'clock or something like that. I don't know. I thought about maybe doing like one of those meal prep or meal order things like that, at least just for lunch, and force myself to start putting something in the calendar, even because I need to. It's gotten bad. Like I skip lunch way too much.
Yeah,
and you're working out. Like, you will feel like crap if you don't eat enough.
Yeah.
or
that
either mental
just-
or mentally working.
Yeah.
Or that too. Like for me, I notice if I don't eat lunch around, I don't know, 4 o'clock or so, I start to like really crash like on energy I don't know, for me personally so that's why I try to eat lunch or otherwise I know I'm going to
Mhm. I
crash
get
later on.
hungry. Like
Yeah.
my employees know if I haven't eaten yet. And they're like, "You taking your lunch break yet?" Anywho,
That's funny.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's something I need to figure out in the nutrition, especially because the other thing with me is just eating in general. I don't have a huge appetite in
kind of
general.
weird to me. I'm like hungry right now. I don't know. I can just eat, and if somebody just explains like a pizza really well, I'll get hungry again.
Oh, don't mention pizza. I'm already in. It's only 8:40 here, and I'm one a pizza. Did you?
You spirit and Brenna.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to be quiet for a second because I know KO asked questions you need to ask because I'll take all day.
No, I was just wrapping up my little spiel there I just don't eat enough, which was counterproductive for my goals physically, which is to grow. And my body type in general has a hard time growing and putting on mass. So that's been a constant struggle for me my entire life, is just that contradiction of not eating enough, but wanting to build mass and having a body type that requires extra food if I want to put on mass. And so it continues to be a real challenge that I haven't found a good solution for,
It's
frankly.
so hard for you not to have just to eat so much more. I'm so sorry for you.
Actually, what's been hard for me is I used to be that same way. I feel like growing up, it was like I couldn't put on weight. I was always a skinny kid and I couldn't put on weight. But then, so I just had that mindset of, I can eat whatever I want. I'll never, gain weight. And then all of a sudden, it just seemed like it switched to that it was like, you can't do this anymore. And so that's been, for me, I've had to work around that. But
Yeah. So always something trying to sort out. But yeah, at the end of the day, ultimately, it's the nutrition, the finance, or the fitness regimen, the mindset. Like we talked about, it's doing something, right? Doing something to move the needle, to start building some good, healthy habits. And it just overflows into all the different areas of your life. We didn't really talk about it much in the first section, talking about the business and everything. But of course, the mindset, I'm sure, was a tremendous part, or a critical part of getting you to where you are today. And I'm sure a big part of that is consistency and discipline, which that's the essentials for any physical fitness regimen or nutrition regimen as well, right? So all these things go hand in hand, which is why we like to explore them together. So with that, and since time always flies here, but why don't we just jump into the last bit here and talking about your faith and how that integrates into things. And maybe we can just start it off with, I know sounds like you have a bit of a cool experience, at least, or maybe a cool story on your time that you spent in Germany, right? 2 years in Germany, right?
Yeah. So I spent, when I was 19, I spent 2 years in total. Like I was there I never went home the whole 2 years. I was in northern Germany. So it was technically like the Berlin mission was the name of it. But I lived in 5 different cities while I was there. And I just did a lot of teaching about Jesus and experienced a lot of different cultures, learned German. And
Do you speak German?
I do. Yeah. It's like, when I was there, especially like a year in, that's when I started to feel like really comfortable with my German. Like I could really keep conversations. I would make very little mistakes. Like after 2 years, I felt like really good. But now it's been almost 10 years almost since I've been back, and I just don't practice it enough. And so I can read it, I can listen to it like very well, but speaking just doesn't come off the tongue as well. Like I can't just speak like normal. I can, it's just not like it used to be. But I do speak German. I still pray in German. That's been able to keep some of it up. So I still pray in German, and periodically, my wife doesn't like it, but sometimes at the table I'll just randomly just pray in German and
just start yelling out German commands or something.
But so I'll do that. But I still speak some German. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interrupted your story there.
No, you're good. And it was just a really good time. It was hard. It's difficult being away at 19 from your family for 2 years, and they have it's like a very strict kind of schedule. And obviously no one forces you to do that, but it's like a guideline of like how, like we have wake up at 6:30 in the morning and then have 30 minutes of exercise. Then we get ready. And then from 8 to 10, we're doing scripture study. And so it was like doing that every day for 2 years was amazing. It's hard, but I look back at it and I was like, I wouldn't be able to do that, I don't think, if I didn't have such a good motivator as being like a servant for like of God, right? It would have been so much harder to do if I'm just like, oh, I'm doing this for myself. But no, if you're doing it, I don't know, for your faith, I feel like that's the only way I was able to do it. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. So
That goes back to the consistency and discipline right there as well. Right.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I love that because it's just so dedicated to that, like to serving and your faith that like you just have an hour of uninterrupted, like personal study. So like for an hour, you just study whatever topic you want. And you don't have to like, I was only 19. So I was like, I didn't have to worry about kids or a wife or a business or like anything. Like I didn't have any employees texting me. It was just like, I don't know, pure uninterrupted time. And so I miss that aspect of it is because I just was so 100% focused on that, where now I feel like that time is harder to do.
Did you have any, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of a better word, but any cool experiences or like I just can't think of the word. And not,
I feel like more, profound. Yeah, there was a lot. So one thing that I really enjoyed was Germany is like especially at the big cities. I guess it's the big cities here too. I don't live in a big city, so I didn't really experience it. But there's so many different people that come from different countries. So like I taught people from India, China, South Africa, pretty much anywhere, like Russia, like any place you can think of. It seemed like definitely every continent and a lot of countries. I was learning different cultures and talking to them. Like I learned little parts about their language or something like that. And so I love doing that. And especially when like I'd be in a big city and we'd be trying to talk to people about Jesus, and like Germans are a little more not as friendly, not as open to that. And I'd be talking to them I'd be trying to talk to them on the street. And then there'd be like an African that comes around the corner. I'd be like, hey, we're talking to people about Jesus and we want to ask you a question. He's like, Jesus, I love Jesus. Like when do you guys want to meet and talk? And then, I don't know, it was just like, I don't know, just experiencing different cultures and like different experiences like that. There was a lot of people you could see who's teaching them about faith, about gospel topics, just really changed their life when it comes to reading the scriptures more and just seeing the benefits from that, or never being able to pray before and then learning that they can pray and what that does for them, with their relationship with God, their spirituality, just all sorts of amazing experiences. Aside from that, I mean, as being in Germany was really cool. Like on Mondays, we'd have a kind of a day off where we could go to groceries and laundry and stuff like that. But we'd go see like castles and play basketball and I don't know, do that in the same day. It was funny. Let's go see a European castle and then go play basketball after. I don't know. It was just, it was a really good time though.
Yeah. No, it sounds amazing. And doing any type of traveling in general, of course, is always exciting, but of course, doing it and evangelizing it is even more cool.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's, especially being 19 years old, you said, I'm assuming it was with probably a larger group as well. Is that right? Or
yeah, so we all have how it works is there's a mission president who's over that mission. So he'd be the Berlin mission. And so he's just, I don't know, the director, I guess. I don't know the best word for it. And then from there, like each area has like a companionship. So like it'd be me and another guy, and we would teach together. And so, yeah, I mean, there's still a group of a bunch of people out there.
Yeah, I guess I was just going to say, I would imagine being 19, going to a foreign country that you don't speak the language, at least initially, and going to proselytize is probably a pretty intimidating thing, I'd imagine, right?
Oh yeah. It's intimidating. And for me, especially I don't feel like the reality of it hit until I was there, I didn't think, I don't know, for some reason, it didn't grasp it. And so I did struggle with some anxiety, at the beginning of my mission, and I lost a lot of weight and stuff. But I don't know, I was just told myself, like, I don't know, I'm here for a reason. I'm not going to go home. And right. I don't know, just, you really rely a lot on prayer and trying to forget yourself and get to work, like helping God's children, right? That's what you have to do. And so it's not easy, but I don't know, it was definitely worth it though.
Yeah. Did you have to get used to like the German food?
That was not a problem at all.
Oh, okay.
No, I love German food. So I don't know, lots of like salty, like meats and breads, and I don't know, it's all good. Like German chocolate's really good, German pastry.
Okay.
I don't know. but I was walking. I didn't have a car or anything like that, so we would just walk all over the place. And so that wasn't a problem. I was walking like tons and tons of steps a day to where I could eat honestly whatever I want. But no, for German food's really good. I like it's my type of food, so I didn't have any complaints about it.
Brent.
And then,
So
yeah, my stomach's growling, so I don't even know if the mic has caught it.
Actually, I'll tell you the
Pretty
food
loud.
that I did have to get used to was the African food. We'd eat at African stuff, and I'd have this thing called bamku. It's like a paste. It's like a potato based or sweet potato based like mush, and you eat it on like a soup. But they put meat in there, and so we'd have goat intestine and goat skin, or like a full fish head would be in your soup, and like with the bones and everything. And so that was that was weird. But for German food, I never had anything just bad to say about that. So
Exactly what I
Let us
want
know
in a
when
soup
you-
is to crunch down on a fish bone.
yeah,
So how do you, so I'm sure you learned a ton from that. I'm sure some of the disciplines I would imagine helped you out throughout your career elsewise, but how do you integrate your faith into your, whether through your daily routine, or how do you just integrate it into your everyday life and perhaps your business today?
yeah, it's kind of everything. I feel like it's how your religion, your belief is how you operate. I don't know how you operate your business in a way of ethics, right? Is how you feel people should be treated, or I don't know. For me, it's a lot. I don't try to. I don't know. For me, especially on social media and stuff like that, I try to be as genuine as I can. So I am religious, and I don't like. I don't know. Some people think that, if you talk about God or Jesus on a reel or on an Instagram post or whatever, some people might not agree. It's I don't really care. Of course, I care about them, but it's like I'm trying to reach those people who do care about them. Those are the kind of people that I want following me or that I want to be associated with. And so for me, it's like I've never tried to hide the fact that I'm religious or that I believe in God and Jesus. It's just made me a better version of who I am. And but to mix it in, yeah, I just say it does affect everything, because a lot of people don't think you can mix the two. But if I have an important business decision, like if I'm thinking, should I buy this deal? I'm going to talk about it in prayer. A lot of people think you can't do that, but you can. I view God as my friend and my father. I can talk to him about
Be true
anything.
mentor.
Yeah, true mentor. I can talk to him about anything that's going on in my life, and especially the financial stuff. If I have financial goals, I'll talk to him about it. And it doesn't mean they have to be completely separated. With my son, I wouldn't want him to only come to me, I don't know, just with the stuff that he needs or like the stuff he's thankful for. I want him to come with me with everything. Let's talk about anything that's going on in his life. So that's why I think they're intertwined. I don't think they're separate like at all. So
I like that. I saw something the other day on Instagram, and I forget what chat. It was like Ephesians or something, just based off of one of the Bible verses. But it said a lot of people are like on that gray area. So they're like, how close can I get to sin without sinning? So I can still feel good about myself saying I'm not doing. They're really close versus how close can I get to being godly? And I think people have confused the two, because I'm not sinning, but you're like right here, and a sin is a sin in God's eyes. And so it's like, try to reverse that thinking of everything you do. Like you say, you pray about a deal that you might be contemplating, and people might not even go to him except for when they need something or stressed out about something, versus like, just how can I develop that relationship more, be closer to God instead of being closer to sin.
yeah, 100%.
Sure. Yeah. And just, I think I shared this maybe on the last episode we recorded here, but one of the coolest things for me lately has been, so I mentioned I have a 3-year-old, my youngest, and so we make it a point to pray every time we eat. For me, it's not only for establishing the habit, because I want the kids to see that and I want that to become a habit for them as well, but it's a way to be accountable as well and to make sure that we are giving thanks. The coolest thing is that just within the last 2-3 weeks is our little 3-year-old, he wants to pray now. So he starts doing it. When we go to pray at dinner or something, sometimes he'll jump in, he'll be like, Ramses, do it. Ramses, do it. And then we speak kind of Spanglish in the house. And
Okay.
So his verbiage is Spanglish right now, but it's the cutest little thing. It's just like a pure stream of thought on what's in a 3-year-old's head. But it's the cutest, most pure, innocent thing. Like he'll talk about chocolate lizards, lollipops.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same. Sounds like my daily talk too.
whatever pops into his head, and that's what comes out. And it's honestly, it's like, it's convicting for me, because I'm like, man, like his little 3-year-old stream of consciousness prayers are probably more profound and more personal than a lot of my prayers. Let's face it. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, because it's just a recent thing, like in the past 2 or 3 weeks, since he actually started verbally wanting to do it on his own. It just got me thinking a lot. I was like, we do so many times, our prayers become very, I guess maybe I'm speaking for myself, is very surface level, or when there is a challenge, or even with like gratitude. I make sure I do a gratitude prayer every morning I wake up. But even that's difficult for me. And so I do still struggle with trying to just have, I guess, like you were saying, Casey, maybe like everyday conversation type prayers, if that makes sense. So I think that's something that we can all work on. Having a better and consistent and powerful and effective prayer life is, I think, one of the big challenges in faith in general.
Yeah.
No matter what,
Well,
because a lot of people think that you can't pray to God about the deal that you might want. Everything this life is for Him and not you personally, because we're just of flesh and blood, and we're going to die at some point. And it's like everything you do is technically for Him. Like, why wouldn't you pray about it?
yeah. No, I agree. Going back with what you were saying, is I was actually thinking about this morning. I was saying a prayer, and I was like, I was like, I have nothing. Like, I feel like my life is so good. Like, everyone in my family's healthy, work's going okay. Like, I don't have there's nothing to ask for. I'm happy. It was like a lot of gratitude, but I was like, man, I don't have this long, passionate prayer, because I don't have anything that I need. Like, I'm really happy. And it was really more gratitude. But I was starting to think about how, like, it's easy to pray and get like really strong in faith when you're going through something. It's harder to stay like strong with your prayers and everything like that when things are going really well.
Yep.
And that's what I try to do, is things are going, and I'm going to continue doing like the gratitude prayers and stuff like that. Cause lots of times that's what it is. I'm really happy. It's like, I can put food on the table for my family, and everyone's healthy. And I don't know, I guess for that, I start to think more of what other people need. Like, how can I pray for other people? But yeah, no, it's definitely, I feel like it's harder to do when things are going, when you don't need anything.
Yeah, for sure. We are definitely over the time, but with respect to everybody's time, we'll just get into the wrap up here.
Okay.
We like to ask our guests to leave our audience with 3 actionable or practical tips about anything that we've talked about today that they could learn from.
Okay. All right. Actual tips. I'll go for all 3 of the things. For the business side of things, I would say, besides being persistent, I don't feel like that's a very good tip, but just keep going until you find like the one business that's going to work out for you. If you have found that business, I think for me, what's been really helpful is just reading. I read about 3 to 4 books a month, and that has been like huge for my growth, and it's helped me in my business and my knowledge, and just to continue learning. I don't know, just read more books about top business and stuff like that. That's probably what I would say, is read more books. When it comes to be like the fit investor, as far as like working out, being healthy, I'm a big believer in just like getting the habit started and then improving the habit from there. So like in Atomic Habits, it talks about a guy who went to the gym every day. He drove to the gym, walked in the gym, and walked out for a month straight. And he didn't actually work out in that first month, but he was able to get the habit started, like just by waking up early, going to the gym. And I feel like that's what I'm just trying to do, is just start small, even just going on a walk every morning and just watching what you're eating, and then just improve it from there. Get the habit started. When it comes to the religious sides of faith, yeah, I feel like it's just I feel like your testimony, your faith is something that always has to be like worked on. It's not something that like, oh, I have faith, and then you don't work on it for years and years, and it's still there. It's something they have to like continuously work on. So the same thing of setting a habit of just praying. It can be something simple of like on your way to work, just have a conversation with God. And I think that helps my day tremendously just by doing that. And just, it doesn't have to be like, a lot of times we go to church and we hear these the type of sentences and words that sound like, I don't know, like it's this formal way of doing it, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be just talking to a friend and just very casual. And I feel like it's actually better for me when I try to make it more casual versus like those formal prayers that I hear in church. And it means more for me. So I guess pray often and pray casual, and just doesn't have to be anything crazy, just as casual as can be. So
Excellent. And Brenna, since he stirred up your
Yeah.
your kindred spirit.
So I am a pizza connoisseur as well. So where and what type of pizza is your favorite pizza, and from where and why?
Oh, that's hard because I go through these kind of cravings. So I love Chicago style pizza,
Yeah, yeah.
like sausage. Just so it'll be sausage and cheese at the bottom with the meat, with the sauce on top, and they're like super thick. And there's only one place that I know in Southern California that does that, and we'll drive like 30 minutes to go pick up this pizza.
Yeah.
So that one's really good. If it's like more of just typical slice of pizza, I usually do like a sausage and mushroom. If I'm ordering with my wife, it's going to be cheese because we usually both, I know she likes cheese and I don't mind
I like
cheese.
cheese.
So yeah, so I like cheese. But yeah, I like pizza maybe a little bit too much.
I actually did a photo shoot with pizza one time, which is a different story for a different day. But yeah,
That's cool. That's really cool.
I'm envisioning like
I think you maybe have a
Lady
pizza.
Gaga, like a Lady Gaga pizza suit or something.
Yeah.
no, not that. No, it was just some Little Caesars pizza. So whatever. But
I can
that's
only-
awesome.
We're gonna have to find out more about that some other.
Yeah.
All right.
That's too
Well,
funny.
thank you very much, Casey, for
Yeah, of
coming on
course.
the story. And for anybody who wants to get in touch with you or follow you, what's the best way?
Yeah, so I'm really active on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, just Casey Karlen. My Instagram handle is _ in between the two, but that's, yeah, CASEYKARLEN. I think I'm going to be Casey Karlen around, so pretty easy to find me on the socials.
Awesome.
There we go. Thank you again, and join us next week for another episode.
Thank you guys for having